How to reclaim your youth energy. After 40, build unstoppable vitality at any age. Introduction. You wake up tired. Again. The alarm goes off, and instead of feeling rested, you feel like you barely slept at all, even though you were in bed for 8 hours. You drag yourself to the kitchen, pour that first cup of coffee, and tell yourself it's just one of those mornings. But deep down, you know the truth. It's not just one morning. It's been weeks, months, maybe longer. The exhaustion isn't going anywhere. No matter how much you sleep, how much caffeine you drink, or how many vitamins you take. You're tired in a way that rest doesn't fix, and that terrifies you more than you're willing to admit. You're not alone. Millions of people over 40 wake up every single day feeling exactly the way you do right now, depleted, drained, wondering where their energy went and if it's ever coming back. And here's what makes it worse. Everyone keeps telling you it's normal, that this is just what happens when you get older, that you need to accept it and adjust your expectations. But something inside you refuses to believe that. You remember what it felt like to wake up energized, to move through your day without needing constant stimulation just to stay awake, to have enough left in the tank at the end of the day to actually enjoy your life instead of collapsing on the couch. You remember feeling alive, not just functional, and you want that back. Here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. Your exhaustion isn't because you're getting old. It's not because your body decided to betray you the moment you hit 40. Age is not the enemy here. What's really happening is that the energy system you've been running on for decades, the habits, the routines, the way you've been treating your body, stopped working, and nobody taught you how to recalibrate. Your body didn't break down. It's trying to tell you something, and you've been too exhausted to listen. Think about it. When your car starts making a strange noise, you don't just turn up the radio and ignore it. You take it to a mechanic because you know something's wrong under the hood. But when your body starts sending you signals, chronic fatigue, brain fog, that heavy feeling that follows you everywhere, you reach for another coffee, push through, and hope it gets better on its own. It won't. Not until you understand what's actually broken and how to fix it. For years, you've been told that the solution to low energy is more sleep, better supplements, cutting out sugar, drinking more water, exercising more, or maybe exercising less. You've tried some of these things, maybe all of them, and they helped for a little while, but the exhaustion always came back. That's because you were treating symptoms, not causes. Energy isn't one thing. It's not just about sleep or food or stress. It's a system, and when one part of that system breaks down, the whole thing starts to fail. After 40, that system needs a different kind of maintenance, a different kind of fuel, and most people have no idea where to start. This audiobook is going to show you exactly where to start. Not with another quick fix or miracle supplement, but with a complete understanding of how your energy system actually works and what you need to do to rebuild it from the ground up. You're going to learn why sleep quality matters more than sleep quantity after 40. How the food you're eating might be draining you instead of fueling you. Why your hormones are playing a bigger role than you realize. And how stress is stealing energy you didn't even know you had left. You're going to discover that movement creates energy instead of depleting it. That your mind and your body are more connected than you ever imagined. And that the way you think about energy itself has been holding you back. This isn't about working harder or forcing yourself to do more when you're already running on empty. This is about working smarter, about understanding the levers you can pull to get your body back on your side. 8 levels. 8 key systems that control your energy. Each one builds on the last And by the time you reach the end, you'll have a complete roadmap for reclaiming the vitality you thought was gone forever. But let me be clear about something. This isn't going to be easy, and it's not going to be instant. Anyone who promises you a magic bullet is lying. What this audiobook offers is something better than easy. It offers you the truth. The truth about what's really draining your energy, the truth about what your body actually needs, and the truth about what it's going to take to feel alive again. And here's the most important truth of all. You're not too old, you're not too tired, and it's not too late. Your body is resilient. It wants to heal. It wants to give you energy again. It's been waiting for you to give it what it needs. There's someone I want you to think about for a moment. His name was Michael, and at 47, he was convinced his best years were behind him. He'd wake up exhausted, drag himself through work, come home too tired to do anything meaningful, and collapse into bed only to wake up exhausted again. He tried everything: sleep apps, diets, gym memberships he never used, supplements that promised miracles but delivered nothing. He was ready to accept that this was just his life now. But then something shifted. He stopped looking for quick fixes and started asking better questions. What happened next changed everything. But we'll come back to Michael's story later. Right now, the question isn't whether you're capable of reclaiming your energy. The question is whether you're ready to stop accepting exhaustion as your new normal and start building the life you actually want to live. Are you ready to stop dragging yourself through your days and start waking up like you mean it? Are you ready to feel strong, focused, and alive again? If the answer is yes, then let's begin. Your energy is waiting. Let's go unlock it. Level 1. Why you're really exhausted. It's not just age. If someone told you that your chronic exhaustion had nothing to do with getting older, would you believe them? Probably not. Because everywhere you turn, people are telling you the same story, that fatigue after 40 is inevitable, that your body is slowing down, that this is just what happens when you hit middle age. You've heard it from friends, from family, maybe even from your doctor. And after hearing it enough times, you started to believe it. But what if that entire narrative was wrong? What if age wasn't the problem at all, and the real issue was something you could actually control? Let's start with the truth. Your body at 40 is not the same as your body at 25. But that doesn't mean it's broken. What's really happening is that the energy system you've been running on for decades has changed. And the way you've been treating that system, the habits, the routines, the lifestyle choices, stopped working somewhere along the way. Your exhaustion isn't because you're old. It's because you're still trying to fuel a high-performance machine with the wrong kind of gas, and now the engine is sputtering. Energy in your body isn't some vague concept. It's a real, measurable thing, created at the cellular level by tiny structures called mitochondria. These are the powerhouses of your cells, and they produce a molecule called ATP, which is essentially the currency your body uses to do everything: move, think, breathe, repair itself. When you're young, your mitochondria are efficient, your cells are responsive, and your energy production hums along without much effort. But after 40, things start to shift. Mitochondrial function declines. Your cells don't produce energy as quickly or as efficiently. And if you're not giving your body the right inputs, sleep, nutrition, movement, stress management, those mitochondria start failing even faster. Here's where most people get it wrong. They assume that because energy production naturally declines with age, there's nothing they can do about it. But that's not true. Your mitochondria are incredibly responsive to the signals you send them. Feed them the right nutrients, give them the right stimulus through movement, Protect them from chronic stress, and they'll keep producing energy at levels you didn't think were possible anymore. The problem isn't that your body stopped working. The problem is that you stopped maintaining the system. Think of your energy like a bank account. Every day you make deposits and withdrawals. Sleep is a deposit. Nutritious food is a deposit. Movement is a deposit. But stress, that's a withdrawal. Poor sleep, withdrawal. Processed food, sitting all day, chronic inflammation, withdrawals, withdrawals, withdrawals. For years, maybe decades, you were making more deposits than withdrawals, and your energy account stayed balanced. But somewhere after 40, the balance shifted. You started withdrawing more than you were depositing, and now you're running on overdraft. The exhaustion you feel isn't because the bank closed. It's because your account is empty. So what are the key factors that control whether your energy account is full or depleted? There are 5 main pillars, and they all work together. Sleep is the foundation. Without quality sleep, nothing else works. Nutrition fuels the system. If you're eating foods that spike and crash your blood sugar, you're sabotaging your energy before you even leave the house. Movement is the signal that tells your body to keep producing energy. When you stop moving, your body assumes you don't need as much, and it scales back production. Hormones regulate the entire system. After 40, declining testosterone, estrogen, and thyroid hormones can drain your energy faster than anything else. And stress is the wild card that can destroy everything else you're doing right. Chronic stress floods your body with cortisol, which disrupts sleep, messes with your blood sugar, and shuts down energy production. Most people only focus on 1 or 2 of these pillars and wonder why nothing changes. You get more sleep, but you're still exhausted because your diet is a disaster. You clean up your diet, but you're still dragging because you're not moving. You start exercising, but you're still burned out because your stress levels are through the roof. Energy doesn't come from fixing one thing. It comes from addressing the entire system, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this audiobook, one level at a time. But before we dive into the solutions, you need to understand one more thing. The reason you're so tired right now isn't just physical. It's also mental and emotional. When you wake up exhausted every single day, it changes the way you see yourself. You start to believe that you're weak, that you're lazy, that you've lost something you'll never get back. And that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You stop trying. You stop believing change is possible. You settle into exhaustion like it's a permanent state. And that mindset drains your energy just as much as the physical factors do. Michael felt that way. Remember Michael from the introduction? At 47, he was convinced his energy was gone for good. He'd tried everything, or at least he thought he had. But what he didn't realize was that he was only addressing symptoms, not the system. He'd buy a sleep tracker and obsess over his sleep score. But he'd stay up scrolling on his phone until midnight. He'd drink protein shakes, but he'd skip meals during the day and binge on junk food at night. He'd sign up for a gym membership, but he'd never actually go because he was too tired. He was trying to fix his energy with Band-Aids when what he really needed was a complete rebuild. And that's what you're about to do. You're not here to slap another Band-Aid on the problem. You're here to understand how energy actually works, to identify where your system is breaking down, and to rebuild it piece by piece. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. It's about understanding that your body is still capable of producing energy, still capable of feeling alive, if you give it what it actually needs. So here's your first task, and it's simpler than you think. Tonight, before you go to bed, take 5 minutes and write down the moments today when you felt the most drained. Not just tired, drained. Was it after lunch when your blood sugar crashed? Was it during that stressful meeting at work? Was it in the evening when you collapsed on the couch and couldn't find the energy to do anything meaningful? Just notice. Don't judge yourself. Don't try to fix it yet. Just pay attention to where your energy is leaking, because awareness is the first step toward change. Your exhaustion has a cause, and once you understand the cause, you can start building the solution. Let's keep going. Level 2. Master your sleep. Unlock deep recovery. You already know sleep is important. Everyone tells you to get more sleep, to prioritize rest, to go to bed earlier. But here's what nobody tells you. After 40, the rules of sleep completely change. And if you're still approaching it the same way you did in your 20s, you're losing energy every single night without even realizing it. Sleep isn't just about closing your eyes for 8 hours and hoping for the best. It's a complex, multi-stage process that your body uses to repair cells, consolidate memories, balance hormones, and restore energy at the deepest level. And here's the problem. Most people over 40 aren't getting quality sleep anymore, even if they're spending enough time in bed. You might lie down for 8 hours, but if you're waking up multiple times, if your sleep is shallow and restless, if you're not reaching the deep, restorative stages your body desperately needs, then those 8 hours are practically worthless. Let's talk about what actually happens when you sleep, because understanding this will change the way you think about rest forever. Sleep isn't one continuous state. It's a cycle that repeats multiple times throughout the night, moving through 4 distinct stages. The first 2 stages are light sleep. Your body is relaxing, your heart rate is slowing down, but you're not yet in deep recovery mode. Stage 3 is where the magic happens. This is deep sleep, the phase where your body releases growth hormone, repairs tissues, strengthens your immune system, and clears waste from your brain. This is the sleep that actually restores your energy. And then there's REM sleep, where your brain processes emotions, consolidates memories, and resets your mental state. Here's the critical part. As you age, your ability to reach and sustain deep sleep naturally declines. Younger people can drop into deep sleep quickly and stay there for long stretches. But after 40, your sleep architecture starts to fragment. You spend more time in light sleep, less time in deep sleep, and you wake up more frequently throughout the night. This isn't just annoying, it's devastating for your energy levels, because deep sleep is where energy restoration happens. If you're not getting enough of it, you can sleep for 10 hours and still wake up exhausted. So why does this happen? Part of it is biological. Your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that regulates your sleep-wake cycle, becomes less precise with age. Melatonin production, the hormone that signals your body to sleep, decreases. Cortisol, the stress hormone that should be low at night, starts spiking at the wrong times, keeping you wired when you should be winding down. And if you're dealing with hormonal changes like menopause or declining testosterone, those shifts can wreak havoc on your sleep quality, leaving you tossing and turning night after night. But biology isn't the only problem. Your habits are making it worse. Think about your typical evening. You finish dinner, maybe grab a snack, then settle onto the couch with your phone or laptop, scrolling through social media, watching TV, checking emails. The blue light from those screens is signaling to your brain that it's still daytime, suppressing melatonin production and keeping you alert when you should be preparing for sleep. Then you finally drag yourself to bed at midnight. But your mind is still racing from everything you just consumed: news, work stress, random thoughts. And it takes you forever to actually fall asleep. And even when you do, your sleep is shallow and interrupted. because your body never got the signal that it was time to truly rest. Here's what most people don't realize. The quality of your sleep is determined long before you actually get into bed. If you want deep, restorative sleep, you need to prepare for it hours in advance. That preparation starts with something called the 10-3-2-1-0 formula, and it's one of the most powerful tools you can use to reclaim your energy. 10 hours before bed, cut off caffeine. Not just coffee, tea, energy drinks, even chocolate if it's high in caffeine. Caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours, which means that if you drink coffee at 2 in the afternoon, half of that caffeine is still in your system at 8 o'clock at night. It's quietly sabotaging your sleep without you even knowing it. 3 hours before bed, stop eating heavy meals. When you go to sleep on a full stomach, your body is still working to digest that food instead of focusing on recovery. 2 hours before bed, finish any work or stressful tasks. Give your mind time to wind down. 1 hour before bed, turn off all screens. No phones, no laptops, no TV. And 0 is the number of times you should hit the snooze button in the morning, because fragmented wake-up cycles mess with your circadian rhythm and leave you groggier than if you'd just gotten up the first time. But sleep preparation isn't just about what you avoid. It's also about what you actively do to signal your body that it's time to rest. Your bedroom should be cool, somewhere between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Your body needs to drop its core temperature to fall into deep sleep, and a cool room makes that process easier. Your room should be completely dark. Even small amounts of light can disrupt melatonin production, so cover your windows, turn off all electronics, and if necessary, use a sleep mask. And your bedroom should be quiet, or at least insulated from disruptive noise. If you can't control the noise, white noise machines or earplugs can make a massive difference. Now let's talk about something controversial: naps. A lot of people think napping during the day is a sign of laziness or that it will ruin their nighttime sleep. But the truth is more nuanced. Short naps, 10 to 20 minutes, can actually boost your energy and mental clarity without interfering with your sleep at night. The key is timing. If you nap too late in the day or for too long, you'll enter deep sleep during the nap, and then your body won't need as much of it at night. But a brief midday nap, especially if you didn't sleep well the night before, can give you the recharge you need to power through the rest of the day without relying on caffeine. Michael started here. Remember Michael? He was doing everything wrong. Scrolling on his phone until 1 in the morning, drinking coffee at 6 in the evening, eating heavy dinners right before bed, and then wondering why he felt like garbage every morning. The first thing he changed wasn't his diet or his exercise routine. It was his sleep. He set a strict bedtime, turned off his screens an hour before that time, made his room pitch black and cold, and committed to the 10-3-2-1-0 formula. Within a week, something shifted. He wasn't magically cured, but he started waking up feeling a little less awful. And that small improvement gave him the energy to tackle the next level. Sleep is not passive. It's not something that just happens to you. It's a skill, and like any skill, you can get better at it with practice and intention. You can train your body to fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and reach the deep stages of sleep where true restoration happens. But it requires you to treat sleep like the non-negotiable foundation of your energy that it is, not as something you squeeze in when everything else is done. So here's your task for tonight. Pick one thing from this chapter and commit to it. Maybe it's cutting off caffeine 10 hours before bed. Maybe it's turning off your screens an hour earlier. Maybe it's making your room cooler and darker. Just one thing. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. Start small, build momentum, and notice how your body responds. Because sleep is not rest. Sleep is where your body rebuilds itself, where your cells repair, where your energy reserves refill. Every night, you're choosing between decay and renewal. Choose wisely. Level 3. Nutrition. After 40, eat for energy, not just survival. You've been told 1,000 times that you are what you eat. But here's the part nobody explains. After 40, what you eat doesn't just affect your weight or your health. It directly controls how much energy you have from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed. Every single meal is either giving you sustained, steady energy or sending you on a blood sugar roller coaster that leaves you crashing, craving, and completely exhausted. Most people think about food in terms of calories, portions, or whether it fits into their diet plan. But if you're eating for energy, those metrics don't matter nearly as much as the quality of the fuel you're putting into your body and the way that fuel affects your blood sugar, your hormones, and your cellular function. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The way you've been eating for years, maybe decades, is probably destroying your energy, and you don't even realize it. Let's start with the biggest energy killer of all, the blood sugar roller coaster. When you eat food, especially carbohydrates, your body breaks it down into glucose, which is sugar in your bloodstream. Glucose is your body's primary source of quick energy, and your brain runs on it constantly. But here's the problem. Not all glucose is created equal, and the way your body handles it changes dramatically after 40. When you eat refined carbs, white bread, pastries, sugary cereals, processed snacks, your blood sugar spikes rapidly. Your pancreas responds by releasing a surge of insulin to bring that sugar back down. And it does its job so well that your blood sugar crashes below where it started. And when your blood sugar crashes, you feel exhausted, foggy, irritable, and desperately craving more sugar to bring you back up. So you reach for another snack, another coffee with sugar, another quick hit of carbs, and the cycle repeats itself all day long. You think you're eating for energy, but you're actually creating an exhausting pattern of spikes and crashes that leaves you drained by mid-afternoon. After 40, this problem gets worse, because your body becomes less sensitive to insulin. Your cells don't respond as efficiently to the signal that sugar needs to be absorbed. So more insulin is required to do the same job. Over time, this can lead to insulin resistance, which not only increases your risk of type 2 diabetes, but also makes it nearly impossible to maintain stable energy throughout the day. You're constantly battling your own metabolism, and you're losing. So what's the solution? It's not about eating less or cutting out entire food groups. It's about eating in a way that keeps your blood sugar stable so your energy stays consistent. And that starts with understanding macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbohydrates, and how they work together to fuel your body. Protein is the foundation. After 40, your body needs more protein than it did when you were younger, not just for muscle maintenance, but for energy production, hormone regulation, and metabolic function. When you eat protein, it digests slowly, keeps you full longer, and provides a steady release of amino acids that your body uses to repair and rebuild itself. Aim for at least 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight every day. That might sound like a lot, but it's what your body actually needs to function optimally. Healthy fats are your sustained energy source. For years, people were told to avoid fat, but that advice has been completely debunked. Fat doesn't spike your blood sugar the way carbs do, and it provides long-lasting energy without the crash. Avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, fatty fish. These foods keep you satisfied, support brain function, and give your body the building blocks it needs to produce hormones. Don't fear fat. Embrace it. Carbohydrates are not the enemy, but the type of carbs you choose makes all the difference. Complex carbs, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, fruits, digest slowly and provide steady energy without the blood sugar spike. Refined carbs, white bread, pasta, sugary snacks, are the problem. They're empty calories that give you a quick burst, followed by a brutal crash. If you want sustained energy, choose carbs that come with fiber, nutrients, and slow digestion. But it's not just about what you eat. It's also about when and how you eat. Skipping meals is one of the worst things you can do for your energy. When you skip breakfast or go too long without eating, your blood sugar drops, your stress hormones spike, and your body goes into survival mode. Then when you finally do eat, you're so hungry that you overeat, often choosing the quickest, most processed option available, and the blood sugar roller coaster starts all over again. Instead, aim for 3 balanced meals a day with protein, healthy fat, and complex carbs in every single one. If you need a snack, make it something substantial. A handful of nuts, a hard-boiled egg, Greek yogurt, not a granola bar or piece of fruit by itself, which will spike your blood sugar without the protein or fat to balance it out. And then there's hydration, which almost everyone gets wrong. You've probably heard that you should drink 8 glasses of water a day, but that advice is too simplistic. Water is critical for energy production, but if you're just chugging plain water all day without replacing the electrolytes you lose through sweat and metabolic processes, you're not actually hydrating your cells. You need sodium, potassium, and magnesium to help your body absorb and use that water effectively. Add a pinch of sea salt to your water, eat potassium-rich foods like bananas and sweet potatoes, and consider a magnesium supplement if you're not getting enough from food. Here's what a typical day of eating for energy looks like. Breakfast, scrambled eggs with spinach and avocado, not a bowl of cereal or a muffin. Lunch, grilled chicken over a big salad with olive oil dressing and a side of quinoa, not a sandwich on white bread. Dinner, salmon with roasted vegetables and sweet potato, not pasta with marinara sauce. Snacks, almonds, cheese, vegetables with hummus, not chips, cookies, or energy bars loaded with sugar. Does this mean you can never have pizza or ice cream again? Of course not. But it does mean that if you want consistent energy, those foods can't be your daily norm. They're occasional treats, not your baseline fuel. And here's the thing. Once you start eating for energy instead of just eating out of habit or convenience, you'll notice the difference so clearly that going back to your old way of eating won't even feel worth it. Michael struggled with this more than anything else. He'd skip breakfast because he wasn't hungry, grab fast food for lunch because he was too busy to plan ahead, and then come home starving and eat whatever was quickest, usually frozen pizza or takeout. His energy was all over the place, and he couldn't figure out why. But when he finally started meal prepping on Sundays, eating protein with every meal, and cutting out the processed junk that was spiking his blood sugar, everything changed. He didn't have perfect willpower. He didn't follow some rigid diet plan. He just started fueling his body like it mattered, and his body responded. So here's your task for this week. Keep a simple food and energy log. Write down everything you eat and rate your energy level on a scale of 1 to 10 about an hour after each meal. Notice the patterns. Does that bagel for breakfast leave you crashing by 10 in the morning? Does skipping lunch make you irritable and exhausted by mid-afternoon? Does eating a balanced dinner help you sleep better? Just notice. Because once you see the connection between what you eat and how you feel, you can start making choices that actually serve your energy instead of sabotaging it. Your body is not broken. It's just waiting for you to give it the fuel it actually needs. Level 4. Movement after 40. reignite your metabolic fire. Here's something nobody wants to hear. You're not tired because you don't have enough energy. You're tired because you're not creating enough energy. And the main reason you're not creating enough energy is because you've stopped moving in the way your body actually needs you to move. Most people think exercise drains energy. And if you're already exhausted, the last thing you want to do is spend an hour at the gym. That makes sense on the surface, but it's completely backward. Movement doesn't deplete your energy reserves. It builds them. When you move your body, especially in the right way, you're sending a powerful signal to your cells that says, "We need more energy production here." And your mitochondria, those tiny cellular powerhouses we talked about earlier, respond by multiplying and becoming more efficient. More mitochondria means more energy, which means you feel stronger, sharper, and more alive. But here's the problem. After 40, your body starts losing muscle mass at an alarming rate. It's called sarcopenia, and if you're not actively fighting it, you're losing between 3 and 8% of your muscle every single decade. That might not sound like much, but muscle is metabolically active tissue, which means it burns calories even when you're sitting still. The less muscle you have, the slower your metabolism becomes, the less energy your body produces, and the more tired you feel. It's a vicious cycle, and the only way to break it is to rebuild that muscle. This is where most people get it wrong. They think cardio is the solution. They go for long walks, hop on the treadmill, maybe take a spin class, and they wonder why they're still exhausted and their body isn't changing. Cardio has its place, and walking is fantastic for stress relief and overall health. But it doesn't build muscle. And without muscle, your metabolism stays sluggish, your energy stays low, and you're stuck. What you need is resistance training, strength training, lifting weights, using resistance bands, doing bodyweight exercises, anything that forces your muscles to work against resistance. This is non-negotiable if you want to reclaim your energy after 40. Because resistance training does something cardio can't. It rebuilds muscle, boosts your metabolism, improves insulin sensitivity, increases bone density, and signals your body to produce more energy at the cellular level. And before you say, "I'm too old to lift weights," or "I'm too tired to start," stop right there. You're not too old, and you're not too weak. Your body is designed to respond to resistance training at any age. Studies have shown that people in their 70s and 80s can still build significant muscle mass and strength with the right training. The problem isn't your body. The problem is that you've convinced yourself it's too late, and that belief is keeping you stuck in exhaustion. You don't need to spend hours in the gym. You don't need fancy equipment or a personal trainer, though those things can help. What you need is consistency and the minimum effective dose, the smallest amount of effort that produces the greatest result. 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes per session, focusing on compound movements that work multiple muscle groups at once. Squats, lunges, push-ups, rows, deadlifts, if you have access to weights. These movements are efficient, functional, and they give you the most energy return for your time investment. Start where you are. If you haven't worked out in years, start with bodyweight exercises. Chair squats, wall push-ups, resistance bands. It doesn't matter how light the weight is or how simple the movement feels. What matters is that you're creating the stimulus your body needs to adapt. And over time, that adaptation builds strength, muscle, and energy. But resistance training isn't the only movement that matters. There's another component that most people completely overlook, and it's called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's a fancy way of saying all the movement you do throughout the day that isn't formal exercise. Walking to your car, taking the stairs, standing while you work, fidgeting, gardening, cleaning the house. All of that movement adds up, and it has a massive impact on your energy and metabolism. The average American sits for more than 6 hours a day, and if you have a desk job, it's probably even more than that. Sitting for prolonged periods shuts down your metabolism, reduces blood flow, decreases energy production, and signals your body that it doesn't need to burn many calories because you're not doing anything. It's one of the worst things you can do for your energy, and yet it's the default setting for most people's lives. The fix is simple, but requires intention. Set a timer to stand up and move every 30 to 60 minutes. Walk around your house or office, do a few stretches, take the stairs instead of the elevator, park farther away from the store entrance. Aim for 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Not because you're trying to burn calories, but because consistent movement throughout the day keeps your metabolism active and your energy flowing. And here's something that might surprise you. Movement helps you sleep better, which circles back to everything we talked about in Level 2. When you move your body during the day, you're burning off excess stress hormones, regulating your blood sugar, and creating a natural fatigue that makes it easier to fall into deep sleep at night. But there's a timing component here. If you work out too late in the evening, especially if it's high intensity, you can actually make it harder to fall asleep because your body is still wired from the adrenaline. Aim to finish your workouts at least 3 hours before bed, if possible. Now let's talk about the mental barrier, because this is where most people get stuck. You know you need to move more, but you're too tired to start, and the idea of working out feels overwhelming. So you keep putting it off, waiting until you have more energy, not realizing that movement is what creates the energy in the first place. It's a catch-22, and the only way out is to start small and trust the process. Michael felt this exact resistance. He was too tired to even think about exercise, and the idea of going to the gym made him want to crawl back into bed. But he didn't start with a gym membership. He started with 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes of bodyweight squats, push-ups, and planks in his living room, 3 times a week. It felt ridiculous at first, almost pointless. But after the first week, something shifted. He didn't feel amazing, but he felt a little less awful. And that tiny improvement gave him the confidence to keep going. By the second month, he was up to 20 minutes, adding resistance bands, feeling stronger than he had in years. The energy didn't come before the movement. The movement created the energy. So here's your task for this week. Commit to 3 short movement sessions. 20 minutes each, 3 days this week. It doesn't matter what you do. Bodyweight exercises, resistance bands, a walk with some hills, a yoga flow. Just move your body intentionally with resistance or sustained effort, and notice how you feel afterward. Not during. During might be hard, but after. Notice the shift in your energy, your mood, your clarity. That's your body responding, waking up, remembering what it's capable of. Your body is not fragile. It's not broken. It's been waiting for you to remember how strong it really is. Move it. Challenge it. Watch it come back to life. Level 5. Hormones and stress, the hidden energy switches. You can sleep 8 hours, eat perfectly, and exercise consistently. But if your hormones are out of balance and your stress is through the roof, you'll still feel exhausted every single day. That's because hormones and stress are the invisible switches that control your entire energy system. And after 40, those switches start flipping in ways that drain you faster than anything else. Most people don't think about their hormones until something goes obviously wrong. Irregular periods, hot flashes, low libido, unexplained weight gain. But your hormones have been quietly influencing your energy levels for years, and the changes that happen after 40 are dramatic. For women, estrogen and progesterone levels drop during perimenopause and menopause, leading to fatigue, brain fog, sleep disruption, and mood swings. For men, testosterone declines by about 1% every year after 30. And by the time you hit 45 or 50, that decline is noticeable. Low energy, decreased muscle mass, mental sluggishness, and reduced motivation. And then there's your thyroid, the master regulator of your metabolism. Your thyroid produces hormones that control how fast your cells burn energy, and when it's underactive, a condition called hypothyroidism, your metabolism slows to a crawl, your energy plummets, and you feel cold, sluggish, and mentally foggy no matter how much you rest. Thyroid issues are incredibly common, especially in women over 40. But they're also frequently missed or misdiagnosed because doctors don't always test the right markers or because the symptoms get dismissed as just part of aging. Here's the problem. Your doctor might run a standard thyroid panel, see that your TSH is within the normal range, and tell you everything's fine, but TSH alone doesn't tell the whole story, doesn't. You also need to know your free T3 and free T4 levels, because those are the active hormones your cells actually use for energy production. If your T3 is low, even with a normal TSH, you're going to feel exhausted. And no amount of sleep or healthy eating will fix it until you address the underlying hormonal issue. Testosterone isn't just for men, by the way. Women need it too, though in much smaller amounts. And when it drops too low, energy crashes along with it. Low testosterone in men is epidemic. Studies show that nearly 40% of men over 45 have clinically low levels. But it's still stigmatized and underdiagnosed because men don't want to admit they're struggling, and doctors don't always bring it up. The symptoms are subtle at first. You're a little more tired than usual, a little less motivated, a little less sharp mentally. But over time, those symptoms compound. And suddenly you're dealing with chronic fatigue, weight gain, depression, and a complete loss of drive. So what can you do about it? First, you need to know where your hormones actually are. Schedule blood work with your doctor and ask for a comprehensive hormone panel. For men, that means total testosterone, free testosterone, estradiol, and SHBG. For women, it means estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and a full thyroid panel including TSH, free T3, free T4, and thyroid antibodies. Don't just accept everything's normal as an answer. Ask for the actual numbers. Compare them to optimal ranges, not just the reference range. And if your doctor dismisses your concerns, find a doctor who takes hormones seriously. Now, not everyone needs hormone replacement therapy, and it's not a magic fix. But for some people, especially those with significantly low levels, bioidentical hormone replacement can be life-changing. The key is working with a knowledgeable provider who understands how to optimize hormones safely and effectively, not just throw a prescription at you and hope for the best. But even if your hormones are in decent shape, there's one hormone that can destroy all your progress if it's out of control, and that's cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol isn't inherently bad. In fact, you need it to wake up in the morning, respond to challenges, and stay alert. The problem is that most people's cortisol levels are chronically elevated, and when that happens, your entire energy system breaks down. Here's how it works. When you're stressed, whether it's from work, finances, relationships, health issues, or just the constant low-level anxiety of modern life, your body releases cortisol to help you cope. In the short term, that's useful. But when stress becomes chronic, cortisol stays elevated, and that leads to a cascade of problems. High cortisol disrupts your sleep, spikes your blood sugar, breaks down muscle tissue, suppresses your immune system, and interferes with the production of other hormones like testosterone and thyroid hormone. It's an energy vampire, and it's relentless. And here's the cruel irony. Stress makes you tired, but it also makes it harder to rest. You're exhausted, but you can't sleep. You're wired and tired at the same time, stuck in a state of hypervigilance that never fully shuts off. Your sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight response, is stuck in overdrive. And your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode where healing and recovery happen, barely gets a chance to activate. The average American is drowning in stress. Work emails at all hours, financial pressure, caregiving responsibilities for aging parents or young kids, health worries, political anxiety, social media overload. It's endless. And the cultural message is that you just need to push through, work harder, sleep less, do more. But your body can't sustain that. And after 40, it stops trying. It shuts down, and you're left wondering why you can't function the way you used to. So how do you fix it? You can't eliminate stress completely, but you can change the way your body responds to it. That starts with activating your parasympathetic nervous system intentionally, multiple times a day. Deep breathing is one of the simplest and most powerful tools you have. Try the 4-7-8 technique. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 7, exhale through your mouth for 8. Do that for just 2 minutes, and you'll feel your heart rate slow, your shoulders relax, and your mind quiet. It sounds too simple to work, but it does. Because you're literally signaling your nervous system to shift out of fight or flight and into rest and recover. Movement helps too, but not intense. Punishing workouts that spike cortisol even higher. Walking, yoga, stretching, tai chi. These gentle, rhythmic movements reduce stress hormones, improve circulation, and give your mind a break from the constant churn. And then there's nature. Studies show that spending just 20 minutes outside, away from screens and noise, significantly lowers cortisol levels. You don't have to hike a mountain. Just step outside, breathe, and let your nervous system reset. But here's the hardest part. You have to set boundaries. You have to say no to things that drain you, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if people are disappointed. You have to protect your time, your energy, and your peace, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Chronic stress isn't just about external circumstances. It's about how much you allow those circumstances to control you. Michael didn't realize how much stress was destroying his energy until he saw his blood work. His cortisol was sky high, his testosterone was in the basement, and his thyroid was sluggish. For years, he thought he was just tired from working too much. But it was deeper than that. His body was running on fumes, held together by stress hormones and caffeine. And it was only a matter of time before everything collapsed. He started small. 10 minutes of deep breathing before bed. A morning walk without his phone, saying no to extra projects at work. It wasn't dramatic, but it worked. His cortisol started to normalize, his sleep improved, and slowly, his energy came back. Your task this week: schedule that hormone panel if you haven't already. And every day, practice one stress reset tool. Deep breathing, a walk outside, 5 minutes of stretching. Just one thing that tells your body it's safe to relax. Your hormones won't fix themselves overnight. But awareness is the first step, and small, consistent actions compound faster than you think. Stress will take everything if you let it. Your hormones will stay broken if you ignore them. But you don't have to let that happen. You have more control than you think. Use it. Level 6. Sharpen your mind. Mental energy is real energy. Physical exhaustion is obvious. You feel it in your muscles, in your bones, in the way your body refuses to move. But mental exhaustion is different. It's quieter, sneakier, and just as draining. It's the fog that settles over your thoughts, the inability to focus on anything for more than a few minutes, the feeling that your brain is running through mud. And after 40, when your energy is already stretched thin, mental fatigue can make everything else feel impossible. Here's what most people don't realize. Mental energy and physical energy are not separate systems. They're deeply interconnected, and when one breaks down, the other follows. Your brain uses 20% of your body's total energy, even though it's only 2% of your body weight. That means every time you think, focus, make a decision, or process information, you're burning through glucose and oxygen at a rapid rate. And if your body isn't producing enough energy to keep up with the demand, your brain slows down, your focus shatters, and that fog rolls in. Brain fog after 40 isn't a mystery. It's a symptom, and the causes are almost always the same things we've already talked about. Poor sleep, blood sugar crashes, chronic inflammation, hormone imbalances, and stress. When you're not sleeping deeply, your brain doesn't get the chance to clear out metabolic waste that builds up throughout the day. When your blood sugar is spiking and crashing, your brain is alternating between too much glucose and not enough, which disrupts focus and decision-making. When inflammation is high, it affects brain function just as much as it affects your joints or your gut. And when your hormones are off, especially thyroid and testosterone, your cognitive sharpness takes a hit. But there's another factor that's specific to mental energy, and it's one of the biggest energy drains of the modern world: cognitive overload. Your brain wasn't designed to handle the sheer volume of information, decisions, and distractions you're bombarded with every single day. The average American checks their phone 96 times a day. That's once every 10 minutes if you're awake for 16 hours. Every notification, every email, every scroll through social media is a tiny interruption that forces your brain to shift gears, and every shift costs energy. This is called decision fatigue, and it's why you can wake up feeling decent. But by mid-afternoon, you can't even decide what to have for dinner. Your brain has been making thousands of micro-decisions all day long: what to wear, what to eat, which email to answer first, whether to click on that article, whether to respond to that text. And each one depletes your mental energy reserves. By the end of the day, you're running on empty, and even simple choices feel overwhelming. The fix isn't to try harder or push through. The fix is to reduce the number of decisions your brain has to make in the first place. That means creating routines, systems, and boundaries that protect your mental energy instead of wasting it on things that don't matter. Wear the same thing every day, if it helps. Meal prep so you're not deciding what to eat 3 times a day. Batch your emails instead of responding to everyone as it comes in. Set specific times to check your phone instead of letting it interrupt you constantly. These aren't small things. They're energy savers that compound over time. And then there's multitasking, which is one of the biggest lies we've been sold. You're not actually doing 2 things at once. You're rapidly switching between tasks, and every switch drains energy and reduces the quality of your work. Studies show that multitasking can reduce productivity by up to 40% and lower your IQ temporarily by as much as 10 points. That's the equivalent of pulling an all-nighter, except you're doing it to yourself on purpose every single day. The antidote is single-tasking. Do one thing at a time, give it your full attention, and then move on to the next thing. It sounds ridiculously simple, but in a world that glorifies busyness and distraction, it's radical, and it works. When you focus on one task without interruption, you enter a state called flow, where your brain works efficiently, time seems to disappear, and you get more done with less effort. Flow is where mental energy thrives, but you can't access it if you're constantly scattered. But protecting your mental energy isn't just about reducing distractions. It's also about actively strengthening your brain. Because your brain is neuroplastic. It can change, adapt, and grow at any age. You're not stuck with the brain you have right now. You can make it sharper, faster, more resilient, but only if you challenge it in the right ways. Learning something new is one of the most powerful things you can do for your mental energy. When you learn a new skill, a new language, a new instrument, you're literally creating new neural pathways and strengthening existing ones. Your brain has to work harder, and that work builds cognitive reserve, the buffer that protects you from age-related decline. Reading books, solving puzzles, engaging in deep conversations, taking courses. These aren't just hobbies. They're investments in your mental energy and longevity. And then there's the power of rest. Not sleep, though sleep is critical. We already covered that. But actual mental rest, where you're not consuming information, not solving problems, not trying to be productive. Just being. Most people are terrified of boredom. So they fill every empty moment with stimulation, scrolling, listening to podcasts, watching videos. But your brain needs downtime to consolidate memories, process emotions, and recharge. Boredom isn't the enemy. It's the space where creativity, insight, and mental clarity happen. Michael's brain was fried. Years of juggling work, family, finances, and constant digital noise had left him mentally exhausted, unable to focus on anything for more than 5 minutes. He'd sit down to read and find himself rereading the same paragraph 3 times. He'd start a project and get distracted within minutes. His mind felt like a browser with 50 tabs open, all loading at once, none finishing. But when he started protecting his mental energy, turning off notifications, setting boundaries around his phone, focusing on one task at a time, taking actual breaks instead of just scrolling, his brain started to wake up. Slowly, not overnight, but steadily. And that clarity gave him something he hadn't felt in years: control. So here's your task for this week. Pick one practice that protects your mental energy and commit to it. Maybe it's setting 2 specific times a day to check email instead of leaving your inbox open all day. Maybe it's putting your phone in another room for the first hour after you wake up. Maybe it's giving yourself 10 minutes of complete silence every day. No podcast, no music, just quiet. Start small, but start. Because your mental energy is finite, and the world will take every drop of it if you let it. Your mind is not broken. It's just overloaded, overstimulated, and underrested. Give it the space it needs. Protect it, sharpen it, and watch what happens. Level 7. Connection and purpose, energy beyond the self. You can fix your sleep, eat perfectly, move your body, balance your hormones, and protect your mental energy. But if you feel isolated and purposeless, exhaustion will still find you. Because energy isn't just about biology. It's also about meaning, connection, and the sense that what you're doing actually matters. And after 40, when so much of your identity has been wrapped up in roles that are shifting or disappearing, parent, employee, caregiver, finding that sense of purpose becomes more critical than ever. Let's start with connection, because loneliness is an epidemic, and it's quietly destroying people's energy in ways most don't even recognize. Studies show that nearly half of Americans report feeling lonely, and the numbers are even higher for people over 40. Your kids move out, your friends get busy with their own lives, work becomes isolating, and suddenly you realize you're going through the motions without anyone who really sees you. And loneliness isn't just emotionally painful, it's physically exhausting. Research shows that chronic loneliness has the same impact on mortality as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It disrupts sleep, increases inflammation, weakens your immune system, and drains your energy faster than almost anything else. But here's the thing about connection. Not all relationships give you energy. Some people lift you up, make you feel more alive, more capable, more yourself. And some people drain you, leave you feeling depleted and exhausted after every interaction. These are the energy vampires. The ones who complain constantly, who never have anything positive to say, who take and take without ever giving back. And if you're spending your limited energy on relationships that don't nourish you, you're slowly bleeding yourself dry. So the first step is to audit your relationships. Who in your life actually energizes you? Who do you walk away from feeling lighter, inspired, more hopeful? And who leaves you feeling drained, anxious, resentful? This isn't about cutting everyone out of your life or being selfish. It's about recognizing that your energy is finite. And if you keep pouring it into people who don't value it, you'll have nothing left for the people who do, including yourself. Setting boundaries with energy vampires is hard, especially if they're family or longtime friends. But boundaries aren't cruel. They're necessary. You can still care about someone and choose not to absorb their negativity. You can still love someone and limit your exposure to their chaos. And the energy you save by protecting yourself can be redirected toward the people and activities that actually fill you up. But connection isn't just about avoiding the wrong people. It's also about actively seeking out the right ones. After 40, it's easy to let friendships fade to convince yourself you're too busy or too tired to meet new people. But isolation only makes exhaustion worse. You need people who understand you, who challenge you, who remind you that you're not alone in this. And those people are out there. But you have to make the effort to find them. That might mean joining a gym class, volunteering, taking a course, joining a book club, going to a local meetup. In America, community isn't always handed to you. You have to build it. And yes, it feels awkward at first, especially if you're used to being alone. But connection is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets, and the more energy it gives you in return. And then there's purpose, which is the deeper fuel that keeps you going, even when everything else feels hard. Purpose is the answer to the question, why am I doing this? And if the only answer you can come up with is, because I have to, or because I've always done it this way, then you're running on fumes. Midlife is when purpose becomes non-negotiable. You've spent decades doing what was expected of you. Building a career, raising kids, paying bills, keeping everything together. And somewhere along the way, you lost touch with what actually lights you up. You wake up and realize you've been living someone else's version of your life. And the exhaustion you feel isn't just physical, it's existential. The Japanese have a concept called ikigai, which roughly translates to a reason for being. It's the intersection of four things: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. Not everyone needs to monetize their purpose, but everyone needs to feel like their life has meaning beyond just surviving. And when you find that meaning, energy follows. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be starting a nonprofit or writing a book or changing the world. It can be as simple as mentoring someone younger, volunteering at a local shelter, starting a garden, learning a craft, being the person your grandkids can count on. What matters is that it's yours, that it feels true, and that it gives you a reason to wake up that goes beyond obligation. Michael struggled with this more than anything. He'd spent 25 years in a job he didn't hate but didn't love, doing work that paid the bills but left him feeling empty. His kids were grown, His marriage was stable but uninspired, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was just existing, going through the motions, waiting for something to change. And that lack of purpose was draining his energy more than anything physical ever could. But then something unexpected happened. A neighbor asked him to help coach a local youth soccer team, just as a volunteer, nothing serious. Michael almost said no. He was too tired, too busy, too out of shape. But something made him say yes, and that decision changed everything. Not because coaching soccer was his life's calling, but because it gave him something outside of himself to care about. Those kids looked up to him, needed him, reminded him that he still had something to offer. And that sense of purpose, small as it was, reignited something inside him he thought was gone forever. There's an old story about a traveler who came across 3 stonecutters working in a quarry. He asked the first one, "What are you doing?" The man wiped sweat from his brow and said, "I'm cutting stone. It's hard, exhausting work, and I can't wait for the day to end." The traveler asked the second stonecutter the same question. The man paused, looked at his work, and said, "I'm building a wall. It's steady work and it pays the bills." Then the traveler approached the third stonecutter, who was working just as hard as the others, but with a lightness in his step. "What are you doing?" the traveler asked. The third man smiled and said, "I'm building a cathedral." All 3 were doing the same physical work, but only one saw the meaning behind it. And that meaning made all the difference. So here's your question. What are you building? Not just in your work, but in your life. Are you just cutting stone? Going through the motions, exhausted, counting down the hours? Are you building a wall? Doing what needs to be done, keeping things functional, but feeling nothing deeper? Or are you building something that matters, something that gives your energy a place to go? Because energy without purpose is just noise. It's restless, scattered, burning out. But energy with purpose is unstoppable. It's the difference between surviving and thriving, between dragging yourself through life and walking through it with intention. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to start asking the right questions. What lights you up? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Who do you want to become in this next chapter of your life? The answers won't come all at once, but they'll come. And when they do, you'll feel something you haven't felt in a long time. A reason to be here. A reason that goes beyond just getting through the day. That's where real energy comes from. Not from willpower or caffeine or pushing through. From knowing that what you're doing matters. From feeling connected to something larger than yourself. From building your cathedral, one stone at a time. Level 8. Building your energy system for life. You've made it through 7 levels. You understand how energy works, how sleep restores it, how food fuels it, how movement creates it, how hormones control it, how stress destroys it, how your mind manages it, and how connection and purpose give it meaning. But knowledge alone doesn't change anything. Information without application is just noise. So now comes the most important part. Putting it all together into a system that actually works for your life. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. There is no finish line. There's no point where you master energy and never have to think about it again. Your body is constantly changing, your life is constantly shifting, and the system that works for you today might need adjustments 6 months from now. That's not failure, that's reality. And the sooner you accept that energy management is a practice, not a destination, the less frustrated you'll be when things don't go perfectly. Because they won't go perfectly. You're going to have bad nights of sleep. You're going to eat things you shouldn't. You're going to skip workouts. You're going to let stress spiral. You're going to get distracted, overwhelmed, disconnected. That's being human. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is consistency, awareness, and the ability to course correct when things go off track. So let's talk about what a sustainable energy system actually looks like. It's not about doing everything at once or overhauling your entire life overnight. That approach might work for a week, maybe 2. But then life gets busy, motivation fades, and you fall back into old patterns. Real change happens slowly, one small habit at a time, layered and integrated until the system becomes second nature. Start with the foundation: sleep. Everything else falls apart without it. If you're not sleeping well, fix that first before you worry about anything else. Use the 10-3-2-1-0 formula. Make your room dark and cool. Protect your sleep like it's non-negotiable, because it is. Once your sleep is stable, layer in nutrition. You don't have to be perfect, but you do need to be intentional. Eat protein with every meal. Choose whole foods over processed ones most of the time. Keep your blood sugar steady. Hydrate properly. And stop skipping meals because you're too busy. That's a guaranteed energy crash waiting to happen. Then add movement. 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes of resistance training. Walk as much as you can throughout the day. Move your body in ways that feel good, not punishing. Build strength, protect your metabolism, and give your mitochondria the signal they need to keep producing energy. From there, address your hormones and stress. Get your blood work done if you haven't already. Know where you stand. And every single day, practice at least one thing that lowers your cortisol and activates your parasympathetic nervous system. Deep breathing, walking in nature, boundaries around work, saying no to things that drain you. Stress is inevitable, but chronic stress is a choice, and you have more control over it than you think. Protect your mental energy by reducing decisions, eliminating distractions, and focusing on one thing at a time. Give your brain the rest it needs. Learn something new. Challenge yourself. And stop glorifying busyness as if it's a badge of honor. It's not. It's exhausting, and it's stealing your life. Prioritize connection and purpose. Spend time with people who energize you. Set boundaries with people who don't. Find something outside of yourself that matters. Something that gives your energy a direction beyond just surviving. Build your cathedral, one stone at a time. And here's the key. Check in with yourself regularly. Once a week, take 10 minutes and assess where you are. Rate your energy on a scale of 1 to 10. Ask yourself what's working and what's not. Are you sleeping well, eating consistently, moving your body, managing stress, feeling connected? If something's off, adjust. Don't wait until you're completely burned out to make a change. Small tweaks now prevent major crashes later. This isn't about rigid rules or following someone else's plan. It's about building a system that fits your life, your body, your circumstances. And that system will evolve as you do. What works at 45 might not work at 55. Your hormones will shift. Your responsibilities will change. Your body will adapt. And your system needs to adapt with it. The beauty of this approach is that it's forgiving. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent enough that the good days outnumber the bad ones. You don't have to do everything right all the time. You just have to do a few things right most of the time. That's the 80-20 rule in action. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Focus on the fundamentals, and the rest will follow. Michael figured this out the hard way. In the beginning, he tried to do everything at once. Fixed his sleep, changed his diet, started working out, cut out stress, joined a community group, all in the same week. And he lasted about 10 days before he crashed, overwhelmed and exhausted, convinced he'd failed. But he hadn't failed. He'd just tried to build the entire cathedral in one afternoon. So he started over. This time, he focused on one thing: sleep. Just sleep. For 2 weeks, that was his only goal. And once that felt stable, he added nutrition, then movement, then stress management, then connection. Layer by layer, habit by habit, he built a system that actually worked. And 6 months later, he wasn't the same person who'd started this journey. He woke up with energy. He moved through his day with clarity. He had something to look forward to. He felt alive again. Your energy isn't gone. It's just buried under years of neglect, poor habits, and a belief that exhaustion is inevitable. But it's not. You can reclaim it. You can rebuild it. You can feel like yourself again, not the version of yourself from 20 years ago, but the best version of who you are right now. This is your system, your energy, your life. Build it intentionally. Protect it fiercely, and never forget, you're not too old, you're not too tired, and it's not too late. Conclusion: your energy reclaimed. Let's go back to Michael one last time. Remember him? 47 years old, exhausted, convinced his energy was gone for good. He thought it was age. He thought it was inevitable. He thought he just had to accept it and adjust his expectations. But he was wrong. Today, Michael wakes up before his alarm. Not because he has to, but because he's actually rested. He doesn't need 3 cups of coffee just to feel human. He doesn't crash in the afternoon. He doesn't collapse on the couch every night too tired to do anything meaningful. He has energy, real, sustained, vibrant energy. And it didn't come from a pill or a supplement or some miracle cure. It came from understanding how his body actually works and giving it what it needs. He sleeps deeply now. He eats food that fuels him instead of draining him. He moves his body 3 times a week, and he's stronger than he's been in a decade. His hormones are balanced, his stress is manageable, his mind is sharp. He has people in his life who matter, and he has a purpose that goes beyond just getting through the day. He reclaimed his energy, piece by piece, level by level. And if he can do it, so can you. Because here's the takeaway from all of this. Your exhaustion isn't a life sentence. It's a signal, a message from your body that something needs to change. And now you know what those things are. Sleep, nutrition, movement, hormones, stress, mental energy, connection, purpose. 8 levels. 8 systems working together to create the energy you need to live the life you actually want. You don't have to fix everything at once. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to start. Pick one level, just one, and commit to it for the next 2 weeks. Maybe it's sleep. Maybe it's cutting out the foods that crash your blood sugar. Maybe it's moving your body 3 times a week. Maybe it's finally getting that blood work done. It doesn't matter which one you choose. What matters is that you choose something and you follow through. And then, once that one thing feels stable, add the next. Layer by layer, habit by habit, you'll build a system that works. Not because some guru told you to, not because it worked for someone else, but because you designed it for your life, your body, your energy. Your body is not broken. It's been waiting for you to listen. It's been sending you signals for months, maybe years, and you've been pushing through, ignoring them, hoping they'd go away. But they won't. Not until you give your body what it's asking for. You deserve to feel alive. Not just awake, not just functional, but truly alive. Energized, clear, strong, present. You deserve to wake up ready for the day instead of dreading it. You deserve to have energy left at the end of the day to do the things you actually care about. You deserve to feel like yourself again. And you can. Not someday. Not when everything else is perfect. Now. Today. This is your wake-up call. This is your moment. Your energy is waiting. Go unlock it.